Hello everyone. Today we shall look into the delegation and navigation features of Power Apps. In Power Apps, delegation refers to the ability of data source to perform operations on a large set of data on behalf of app. Okay, when a query is delegated, it means that data source can execute the operation directly, which can lead to more efficient and faster data retrieval. However, this delegation process has some limitations on what types of operations that could be delegated based upon the data source and the functions which are being used. If a query cannot be delegated, it means that Power Apps will need to retrieve all the data from the data source and then perform the operation locally, which can lead to performance issues and also potential limitations on the number of records that can be processed. Okay, I hope it is understandable. Several things has to be kept in mind. First thing is, what are the supported functions which can be delegated and what are the functions which cannot be delegated. For example, filter functions or filters like equal to, less than, greater than, they can be typically delegated, but more complex operations cannot be supported. And data sources dependencies also must be taken into consideration. For example, SharePoint, Dataverse, they have better delegation support compared to other sources. There is something called SARG ability, which is called search argument ability, and it's a term used in databases which is used to identify the ability to efficiently search the specific data. In Power Apps, this SARG ability is important for delegation. Certain types of queries which can be translated by the data source and into an efficient operation is considered. Okay, when data volume, if it is more, then we have to deal with the data sources directly rather than with the application. Hence, delegation becomes more important. Non-delegated operations may still perform well if you are working with small data sets. Monitoring delegation is an important thing where troubleshooting performance issues and fixing errors, handling errors, all those things are important in order to make good application. And further, there are few custom connectors where delegation could be supported, and depending on how it is implemented with respect to various sources. Let us understand with respect to documentation. Here we have this understanding delegation in Canvas apps. Okay, here you could see that we could use several functions like filter, sort, add columns functions. These are few functions which could help us in delegation, as well as they are very powerful functions. Here you could notice that delegation is where the expressiveness of Power Apps formulas meets the need to minimize data moving over the network. In short, Power Apps will delegate the processing of data to the data source rather than the moving the data to the app of processing locally. Okay, I hope it is understandable. And let us see what are the few data sources. Okay, there are few functions where the delegable functions are available, operations are available with respect to Microsoft Dataverse, SharePoint, SQL Server, Salesforce, and other applications. We have certain connectors where we could connect with the Power Apps, and then we could use these delegable functions in order to directly connect with the data source and then process the data according to our requirement based upon the functions which we use. Okay, majorly in these filter functions, these four types of functions could be delegated. Filter, search, first, and lookup, they can be delegated, and depending on the type of columns of the table, and we could choose our functions and operators accordingly, like and, in operator, these arithmetic operators, trim ends function, is blank, starts with, ends with. These are few functions where delegation could be possible. And also we have few other things where it supports the delegation and where it doesn't support. Similarly, we have sorting functions, aggregation functions, and table shaping functions where it supports the delegation. There are few non-delegable functions. Okay, all other functions don't support delegation, including these notable functions. Notable functions like first n, last n, choices, concatenate or concat, collect, clear collect, group by and ungroup. These are the few notable functions where it couldn't be delegated, and there are limits where it is non-delegable. Okay, the formulas which cannot be delegated will be processed locally, which allows the full breadth of Power Apps formula language to be used. Okay, here if you notice, here the care must be taken while using these functions. And for example, consider a filter function with a selection formula that can't be delegated over a data source which contains millions of records, because filter is done locally. Only the first 500 records are scanned, and if the desired record is, if it belongs to record 501 to 5 million or any other value, it is not considered or returned by the filter when it is required. So that is where we could change the limit of the number of records, where 500 is the default number of records, and here in the settings we could change to the maximum limit of 2000, not more than that. I'll show you how it works here. We'll have a warning sign always where we could identify the delegation issues. For example, in the previous video we have created this search function in order to make this text input searchable. Here if we could notice, here we see this warning sign, right? Here if you click on that, we'll see two options. First one is get help for this warning. If you can click on this, okay, you'll see all the delegation error details which are represented, and it mentions the same. Okay, and one more thing is we can fix it up using the formula bar. For example, here in the formula bar, if I click here, you could see that the first name, here there is a delegation warning. The search part of this formula might not work currently on the large data sets. Okay, since it has more number of if it has the more number of records, then it might not work accordingly. Where we can change the settings is here, click on the settings. Okay, and in the general, if you scroll down, here there is something called data row limit. Okay, as you could see that this data row limit, you can set how many rows are retrieved from server based connections where delegation is not supported. Here it is mentioned as 500. You could maximum change it to 2000. If you enter to 2000, there will be no error. If I enter 3000, you could notice that there will be error mentioning that the value needs to be mentioned from 1 to 2000. Okay, this is all about delegation. You could further refer the documentation and understand it better. Okay, I'll help you understand with the navigation. Here we have the entry form. Okay, this is the old application which we have created, and later we have made a edit form, and then we have used the vertical gallery and made it searchable, and this is our new application. For example, from the first page, if I want to navigate to second page, I would like to create a button. Click on this plus button on the left, and let us take a button. Okay, this is our button. I'll just bring it to the right side, and we shall assign the navigation operation to it. Here I'll select the button and just drag it to the right side, and I'll keep it here. And if I open the button settings, here I can change the text to new application. Okay, this text has changed. On the top, if you see, for the on select, this is the on select item which we have. In the function it is false. Instead of false, I'll use a function called navigate. Navigate function helps us to navigate to the respective screen. As soon as I open the parenthesis, you could see the respective screen names which are populated. I want to navigate to the second screen, hence I'll select the second screen. Okay, make sure that you select the button, select the second screen, close the parenthesis, and you can run and check. Here if you run it, here you can click on this new application. It'll be navigating to the second page. Okay, suppose that you want to navigate with a special feature. What you could do is, either you could keep it in a default way of transitioning, or you could add another parameter which is called screen transition. If I type screen transition, okay, you could see many options like screen transition is by default screen transition dot cover right, fade, uncover right. All these options are available. Suppose I select this cover right, okay, and you could notice that it will cover right, and we shall run it and check it how it works. Here if you click on new application, you could notice that it will cover right. Okay, and suppose that now we are in new entry form, and here suppose that we want to go back to the first screen, to the previous application. What we could do is we could again add a button and also use the same navigate function to go back. Instead of that, if at all you would like to add an icon which helps us to navigate to the first screen, you could click on this insert or search. You can click on this plus button and search. I'll search for back button or back arrow. Okay, you have this icons or shapes, you can select anything. Here I'll select back arrow. I'll just keep it on the left. I'll just change the color to the white on the right side. I'll change the color to the white so that it appears in white color. Okay, now our icon is visible. You could see that on select my icon, it is by default false, right? And if you are not able to select, make sure that on the left side you select this icon which you have inserted. Now this on select, I'll remove it, okay, and I'll just type back with an open parenthesis and close parenthesis. This is a back function which helps us to navigate back. I'll run it. Okay, I'll just click on this icon. You could see that it has navigated to the previous application. I can click on this new application. It will navigate me to the second page, or you could say second application. If I want to go back, I can click on this back button and could move back. Okay, I hope you understood the delegation and navigation features. This is all for today. Thank you for watching, and we shall meet in the next video.